Welcome back, everybody.
Hey, you guys.
Welcome to the B-List.
Welcome to the B-List. We are in January now, as you well know, and it's my birthday month, and I'm so excited. I am gifting you guys with this movie.
It's a great movie to gift. I wish that every child in the world had the opportunity to see this movie.
Since I couldn't get you guys Christmas gifts, I'm giving everybody Frankenhooker.
Frankenhooker. It has a runtime of about an hour and 25 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And it was released in 1990, directed by one of our favorite directors, Frank Henenlotter, who also directed Basket Case 1, 2, and 3, and Brain Damage.
Which makes sense because there's a little cameo in this movie that I'm like, is that?
It is. It was her. Yep.
We'll talk about it here in a little bit.
We will talk about it. It was directed by Frank Henenlotter, like I said, who also co-wrote this movie. And also he wrote it alongside Robert Martin, who also wrote Basket Case 3 with Frank. So they work closely well together. They're like a Tara and Courtney situation. Yeah, absolutely. Classic duo.
Classic duo.
Uh-huh. It's a trauma film, and if anybody knows anything about trauma films, then you know that it's very comedically
It's going to be a little tongue-in-cheek. It's going to be a little raunchy. There's going to be some boobies in there. Right.
Trauma also releasing, things like the Sergeant Kabuki Man series, the Toxic Avenger, Tromeo and Juliet, more classics like that. I got to tell you, I love Frankenhooker.
I love Frankenhooker. I don't know why I love it so much. I just do.
I love it. It's funny. It's not overly gory.
No.
A lot of nudity, a lot of boobies in there, so it's not for the kids.
No.
But this, and you gotta love these trauma films too, because it had a budget of I saw different budgets for this. One site said that it was like 1.5 million. Another site I saw it was 2.5 million. So I don't really know. So between 1.5 and 2.5 million for the budget.
I was gonna say they got a lot of Super Crack for that little money.
Right. The Super Crack.
They used their budget.
Yes, the Super Crack is a big element in this film that is very important. Now the box office they only pulled in about $200,000.
I mean, in 1990, I was all of 8 years old, I think. So, I don't know.
Exactly.
I would have ever seen Frankenhooker. I don't know what that release was like, but
yes,
she didn't get her due. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, the actors in it
better.
Yeah, the two main actors in it, the happy couple, was played by James Lawrence, who plays Jeffrey. And he does a lot of bit parts in TV and movies and stuff. He didn't go on to do any leading roles outside of this. And then there's Patty Mullen, who plays the character of Elizabeth, aka Frankenhooker. And she didn't do a whole lot of acting, but she was a former Penthouse pet in the late 80s.
Really?
So that's where she was known most from.
So if you've seen these before, maybe that's where you know her from.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? For being a model, she didn't do half bad in this movie.
She had that Jim Carrey rubber face going on, where she kept doing that with her face.
Yeah, she did really, really good. I love it. I love it so much.
We've seen a lot of porn stars and X-rated models do worse.
Right. She does pretty good.
She did well.
She does pretty good in this movie. But let's get started into it. Now, this movie starts out with Jeffrey Franken doing science at his kitchen table.
Not his kitchen table. I'm pretty sure it's his girlfriend's mom's kitchen table. Because she's coming in there to talk about coleslaw and stuff.
Yeah, well they're at her dad's
because it's his
birthday party.
Yeah,
and he's inside.
And he thinks that's the perfect time
to do science.
With this eyeball brain situation.
Yeah, there's a brain with an eyeball that he's hooking electrodes up to and trying to get.
Do they think that's how the eyeball is connected to the head? It's
not.
let me tell you guys,
I'm a podcaster, damn it, not a doctor.
I was a medical assistant for all of 5 seconds, and I'm telling you that I don't think that's how anatomy works.
I'm not sure. I mean,
and it's in like
be.
this purple liquid concoction.
Yeah,
looks like grape juice.
Just kind of floating around.
I kept calling it purple drank, so like just some purple drank in there. Yeah, and then he's like telling this little eyeball to wake up.
Wake up.
Open your peeper.
Yeah, he's got like a monitor attached to it so he can see what the eyeball sees. And the eyeball's all looking around, and it's working.
It's working. He's,
Yeah.
He pokes it with a scalpel.
Yeah, he's poking it with the scalpel.
He says he's going to give it a lobotomy.
Yeah, I wonder what the legality of this is. How does one obtain a human brain?
No one asks how he got this
Nobody
brain.
asks. Nobody. Everybody's just totally cool that he's sitting at the kitchen table with a brain.
Jeffrey the weirdo with the brain.
That's just what he's a little bit eccentric.
This guy's not okay.
He's not okay. So, like we were saying, it's a birthday party for his fiance Elizabeth's dad.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Shelley. Which, they get their names inspired by Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein.
Oh, this way.
Frankenstein.
She's standing outside, and the woman who is her mother comes by and says, like, Jeffrey's at it again in the kitchen. Like, you need to... And she's, like, eating pretzels, and she's like, you need to ease off those pretzels.
Yeah.
Immediately fat shaming. We're immediately fat shaming this very thin woman.
Yeah.
Who is a Playboy model.
Yeah, penthouse model. Yes. And she's telling her friend that nothing has worked.
Nothing's worked. Like, Jeffrey even stapled me.
Yeah, he even stapled my stomach, and I just can't lose weight. And her friend's like,
Is he a doctor?
Is he a doctor? And she's like, well, no,
kinda.
He's kind of one. I mean, he's been kicked out of medical school three times.
3 times! And she says, like, I'm just a compulsive eater. I can't help it.
Same girl.
And she's like, no, he's like a doctor on his spare time. And I'm like, I don't know much about doctoring, but I feel like it's a full-time gig.
Right. Especially since he works for the electric company. That's his full-time gig.
His full-time jig
is...
Yeah, so, and he's picked out of, like, if someone's been kicked out of medical school 3 times... Mm-hmm. You're not stapling my anything.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
You're not taking my temperature. I need you to get away.
If they're on my insurance, I'll go to an amateur doctor or whatever.
I mean, I'm pretty sure with my healthcare plan, that's what it is. Yeah. But.
Right. And so anyway, while he's tinkering with this brain, she unveils the gift to her father.
Yes.
That it's a automatic mower
that Jeffrey has
power mower that Jeffrey has created.
And he's like, I don't want the credit for this.
Yeah, this is your dad's day. I don't want credit for this.
And we're going to find out why soon, because
so
she turns the liability of it is what he's probably thinking.
Right. They turn on the lawnmower to show him how it works, and then it starts to lurch forward, and Elizabeth
Jeffrey does tell her to watch out.
Like, watch out, but she's standing there, and eventually the lawnmower rolls over her and
But I'm like,
liquefies
it's a lawnmower, girl. Like, you couldn't just, like, jump out of the way?
This is on him. There's not a fail-safe or anything on this lawnmower. It's just gonna chop through whatever it goes through.
And let's say you do get ran over, like, this thing comes over you. You're just gonna be hurt, like, legs down, correct? Like, you're not gonna be...
Well, this is a power mower, so...
Oh.
I
just have regular gas powered.
We have an electric mower, and it's okay. So that's how it starts off. Elizabeth is chopped up into
Rest
it.
In peace, Elizabeth.
Rest in peace.
Or not so much, because...
Yeah. And so this event makes our young scientist, amateur doctor, even madder. And now his focus...
Little madder.
Little madder, yeah. Little crazier.
Like a mad scientist.
He's a mad scientist now. And so...
like, cut to him, like, sitting at this table, like, this work table.
He's got this elaborate diagram.
This anatomy diagram, and he's mumbling to himself. And we zoom out, and there's a picture of Elizabeth's head.
Taped onto the diagram. Oh, and he still has his pet little brain in an aquarium behind him.
With fish in it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, this poor brain, it has sentience. It's looking around, just floating there.
Probably just trying to Morse code blink its way out of here. Because, like, there's no way that this brain...
It doesn't have a mouth. It can't communicate.
It probably does not want to be there. It's against its will that it's here.
What a hellish existence for this brain. Just
stuck with this asshole. Like,
floating around all the time.
While he's thinking about some other woman.
Right. Right, and so he goes over to a shelf and he pulls out a VHS tape that's hidden in a Grey's Anatomy textbook.
I'm like, oh, he's pulling out Grey's Anatomy. Maybe he's gonna like, no,
he's got all seasons.
Hollowed out.
It's hollowed out. Yeah, and so he puts the tape in, and
one of those VCRs where you have to put it through the top and push it down.
And push it down like our first VCR.
VCR. Okay, gather around the campfire, children. Let me explain what a VCR is. A VCR was like something. Think of a DVD.
It's like a DVD, only more fragile.
But it's a giant brick that you have to put into a machine.
Right.
And that's what a VCR is. So he does this.
And so he does this, and it's a copy of the news report of the day that his fiancée died.
Death,
yeah, that she died. And I had to write out this whole thing that the reporter says to tell you about.
Oh my God, it's so bad. I didn't write it all, but like, yes.
For one thing, the news report shows way too much gore and blood for
so many parts.
Yeah, for a public broadcast.
They would never show this. It's just bits and pieces scattered about the yard.
And so the reporter says, it was this power mower that brought a quick end to the life of 21-year-old bride-to-be Elizabeth Shelley. Like wood through a mulcher.
Wood through a mulcher.
The girthel fiancé disappeared beneath the blades.
Again, fat-shaming this poor dead girl.
And the thing is, she's not even fat. Her clothes are like stuffed with rags or something. She's not... Barely. Like,
it's like they just put a larger shirt on her.
She's just wearing baggy clothes is really what it boils down to.
You know what? I'll tell you this. You can always tell a chunky girl from the arms. You can always tell a chubby girl from the size of their arms. This girl had tiny arms.
She was tiny. They just put her in baggy clothes and said that she was fat. But anyway, the berserk mower sent her personality raining down upon the horrified birthday revelers. In a blaze of blood, bones, and body parts, the vivacious young girl was instantly reduced to a tossed human salad.
They also call her a jigsaw puzzle at some point.
And they said, a salad that police are trying to gather up. A salad that was once named Elizabeth. And then she interviews the detective.
Yeah, the detective's like, there's pieces
of her missing.
I mean, we don't know how to put her together.
We don't know.
It's like a human jigsaw puzzle.
It's like a jigsaw puzzle, yeah. And then the reporter goes and asks Jeffrey if he saw what happened to his fiancée and in her head. And he said the last time he saw her head, it was spinning through the air.
How? How? Because it's a mower.
It's a mower.
It's like 2 inches from the ground. It's not like it's like this giant thing.
It was a powerful, powerful mower.
Did it just keep ramming
it just
over
kept
her
backing
back and forth? Did her finger died on the button just like...
Right.
The fuck?
So he turns off the news report, and he's grief-stricken when his mom comes in.
His mother comes in, and she is a trip because she, for sure, 1,000% sounds like, what's his name? The actor, what the hell is his name? He sounds like, like the... Harvey, what's his name? The dude from... You guys know Mrs. Doubtfire, right? Like the brother.
Oh, yeah.
Firestein, whatever his name is. Like, that's... Harvey Firestein. Yeah, that's his name. She sounds just like, because she sounds like...
Yeah, she does.
And she's got, braids and clips and flowers and all kinds of shit in her hair. Like, she's let some 5-year-old do her hair.
Yeah.
And she's telling him he needs to get out of his room.
It's not healthy to watch that.
Call this girl from the supermarket. Like,
yeah.
Move
on. Go back to med school. You gotta find yourself
another girl. And he says that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
And, get some therapy for him.
Yeah. And he admits at that point that he's disassociating from reality more and more.
You need to go back to medical school. And he was kicked out of 3. And he's like, medical school upsets me.
But carrying around a brain with an eyeball is
there's a brain in a fish tank bobbling around, blinking its eye, but sure,
And then she offers to make him an egg salad sandwich.
Yeah, because he says, everything. I'm associating. That's alarming, Mom. He says he's dangerously amoral and he can't tell right from wrong. And she looks at him and she's like, can I make you a sandwich?
Let me make you a sandwich.
I got some egg salad in the fridge.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'll get my own dinner later.
Yeah. And so she leaves.
That's bad parenting.
That's bad. But he's an adult man. He was engaged.
Doesn't matter. If your adult brother goes to your mom and says, I'm disassociating and I can't tell right from wrong. Call somebody.
You might want to help him with that. So he goes out to his truck and gets out a big spark plug. I'm assuming
it's in a giant bag that says property of Jersey Electric or whatever.
Whatever he works for, yeah.
It's like a.
So I'm assuming he stole it from work.
Yeah, I was like, it does look like a giant. It's for sure a giant spark plug.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know. I know nothing about cars. That's spark plug.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they use spark plugs in other things too.
Yeah, but this one's like gigantic.
Ginormous. And so he sets it up in some of his lab equipment, and then he goes to the deep freeze
and says, "How you feeling?" I was talking with Mom. You know how she yaps. Mm-hmm. You want Italian?
Mm-hmm. And then pulls out Elizabeth's head.
It's Elizabeth's head.
Yeah.
That was not the last time he saw it careening through the air. He's got it.
He's got all of her missing parts in the deep freeze.
1000% does not look anything like Elizabeth.
Doesn't look a thing like her.
The wiry hair on this thing is something out of like an 80s like Barbie doll. It's not good.
And then he proceeds to have dinner with this decapitated head.
Candlelight meal. And there's some body parts about the table. And he's like, "Would you like some wine?" And he pours it in her mouth. And it's just like leaking out of her throat.
Just pours out of her neck hole.
Out of her neck hole. Just juice out of the neck hole. And he says he's got big news. There's a storm coming, and he needs to be ready for it. And if all goes to plan, this is what you'll new you.
And this is what you'll look like. And he brings out all of these like cut out magazine pictures,
nudie art project of like page after page of Elizabeth's head connected to like nude body parts. He went through a centerfold and just started cutting like.
And then just taping her head
on this like glue.
Yeah, because now he's already projecting that he wants her to have a better body than she did. Again, fat shaming.
Because she was fat.
Because she was so fat.
We can't have that. I get you top tier boobies this time.
And then he even tells the decapitated head that there's going to be improvements when we do this. So.
And then he says, "What about some dessert?" And he pulls out a poem.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, the poem. I didn't write it down, but it's terrible.
It's a horrible poem. But,
so bad.
After he reads this poem, he puts her back in the deep freeze.
Yeah, he just bloops
her back in there. Goo. So yeah, he's losing it.
He says, "I know it's not the best poem," understatement, and then puts the paper with the severed hand and then drops it back in the goo. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's not how paper works, Jeffrey.
No, it's just gonna melt.
I know that you didn't pass medical school, but like you know that paper will disintegrate, right? If you put it in the Maybe he even knew that it was a shitty poem and just to
just get rid of that right off the bat.
Get rid of the evidence.
Yeah. So at any rate, he
cut to him working on the diagram.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. And this is he keeps talking to her. And he keeps talking to himself, and he, gives a little exposition that someone has to die to get a new body for her, and he has to find it within 2 days before this storm.
Like fresh
It's got to be fresh, live parts. And then he
has a cluster headache.
He has a cluster headache and drills into his own head, I guess, to lobotomize himself.
But somehow there's no blood.
But there's no blood.
And no hole.
And it also gives him, new ideas and helps him work through problems.
Maybe I should do that for my headaches. I have a lot of headaches.
I've never tried it, but I'm willing to try anything.
And he keeps all of his drill bits in a goddamn bowling ball case. Because he empties it out, and it's like a bowling ball and then a million drill bits.
Yeah, and then he has to pick out the right one.
Does it matter? Does he have one specifically for his brain? And if he does, shouldn't it be sterilized and put somewhere
Nah. Just throw it in the pile.
Fair enough. Okay.
So he decides to get these body parts, or a new body from a sex worker, obviously, because they are undesirable to him and nobody would miss them.
Yeah.
So he goes out trolling.
To the red light district.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's New York because it's across the bridge. So
yeah.
And he lives in Jersey.
Yeah. And so he goes...
cruising hookers, talking to himself.
He's evaluating everybody he comes across. Oh, she's got nice legs. And
he's wearing this suit jacket and glasses. He looks 1000% like Jeffrey Dahmer.
Right. He totally turns into a serial killer type.
It's disgusting.
And so he finally talks to one of the girls with some of the nice parts.
She comes up and is need some company, and he's I'm looking for a couple of girls with nice parts. She pulls her tits out, she
just flops them out and was how's this?
I got the nicest parts in town, or whatever. So,
right. And so he says, well, I need 6 or 7 girls.
Yeah, 6 or 7 of the most beautiful girls, because he's throwing a party and a beauty contest for his brother.
For who's sick, whose brother never shows up, but that's okay.
So they go into this bar and grill.
They say that you have to check it out with our pimp Zorro.
And Zorro's in the
first.
bar and grill, which is called Huevos Grande, and I guess it doubles as a strip club because there's a naked lady at this. I'll tell you what,
debauchery.
I've been to many a Chili's and an Applebee's, and there is never a naked broad with her tits out.
You're going to the wrong Chili's then.
Oh no.
And so they meet up with Zorro, and he's selling drugs and his girls out of a bathroom.
Which is the grossest
bathroom, and there's people banging in there and doing drugs and everything.
And it's gross, and there are men and women in there, and it's weird. There's too many people. Immediately, I'm a no. It's a fire hazard. I don't want to be in here.
Yeah, right.
And Zorro is wearing all white.
Uh-huh.
He's got a Tom Selleck mustache.
He looks good.
Enough chains to choke Mr. T.
Yeah.
And one of them has a Z emblem on it, because of course it does.
Well, it's the same emblem that he brands his
girls with it. So, like, they all have this tattoo,
Z.
like a Z.
Like a brand.
Mark brand on them.
And so they make a deal for the next night where he's going to have all these girls ready for him.
And he does ask about the drugs. He's like, how do I get some of them?
And he was like, how do I get some of those drugs in your pocket? And he's like, here, take it. And it's
like a baggie full of crack.
It's a baggie full of crack. So Jeffrey goes home with this
and
baggie.
little vials. Like
little vials.
Little
never seen
servings.
anything. Yeah, never seen anything like it, but I don't buy crack often.
I don't. Maybe I'm buying it from the wrong dealer.
You know what? It's we get that Texas crack. So
Texas crack is just not as good, you guys.
It's not as good as New York.
We gotta go New York City, New York.
Yeah, exactly. So he takes that crack home, Jeffrey, and he makes super crack with it.
He makes the super crack while watching TV, where it's like an expose on how sex
and
workers... this woman is talking about prostitution and how, like, we have to get these girls legalized. We need some form of, like, getting them off the streets because, like, they're doing drugs, and we don't want that. And who is this girl, Courtney? Who's this lady?
She is also the sex worker with a heart of gold.
Hooker with the heart of gold, Beverly Bonner from Basket Case.
Yes! And I think that she also, doesn't she make an appearance also in Brain Damage?
I think she does.
For a minute. I'm not sure.
But she's like this gorgeous black woman who was in these movies, and she's the hooker with the heart of gold.
She always plays the hooker with the heart of gold. I love her. I love seeing her. Every time I see her, I'm like, there she is, there she is.
Yes.
Love her. And so,
she's not wrong. Like,
and she's
to be
not
real,
wrong.
we do need to, like, legalize sex
yeah,
work.
I'm totally about that. And so, but he hallucinates while he's watching the show. He thinks that he sees, like, Elizabeth getting roughed up.
Yep. By Zorro. And he's like, yep, crack is killing them, and super crack will get the job done a lot quicker without any pain.
Without any pain. Causes him to drill into his head again.
Like, spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure there's some pain involved.
He also said, and it leads to him justifying killing the sex workers.
Because they're going to die anyways.
Because they're going to die anyways, and he's not actually doing it. It's the crack that's doing it.
Right. He grabs that drill out, and he needs to drill his head again.
Right. He has to drill his head again.
But he's doing it from a different location now?
I think, well, he always picks a new location. So he's just got a...
Shouldn't his head look like Swiss cheese?
Yeah, that's what I was... Swiss cheese brain by now.
So then he pulls out this guinea pig to, like, he's got to test a super crack.
He's got to test a super crack.
And this
damn pig just blows up.
He's like pumping
pumping some vapor.
And this is not a closed cage. It's an open cage. Why is he not high, too, on super crack?
Who knows?
Does it only work on women? Like the juice from later on in the
thing? Like the serum, yeah.
The serum?
Yeah.
So he's like, if you weren't a guinea pig, I'd get in that cage with you. Because he's like talking sexy talk to the guinea pig.
To the guinea pig.
And then the guinea pig, to get out of the situation, inhales a huge
he's like,
super crack and just patoof. It explodes.
Look, explodes into it. And oops, oh well.
Oops, sorry, guinea pig.
So it's party
in the name
time.
Of science.
Yeah, in the name of science. So it's party time the next night.
At the Sultry Arms Hotel.
Yes. And these poor girls, he starts doing his beauty contest.
Because he says he wants to play doctor. He's like in a doctor.
Yeah.
What's the thing that goes on their head?
It's like
the doctor circle.
The doctor
headband.
It's like a reflective thing that they used to use instead of a light.
Never seen a doctor ever wear this.
No. But anyway, he's scrutinizing everything. He's measuring their legs, their boobs, their arms, examining their moles and their nipples and their butts.
He's like poking their nipples in.
Yeah, poking them in. He's like,
buoyancy
boy, that's good buoyancy and stuff like that.
He check marks one girl's ass cheek.
Because again, he's trying to pick out the perfect body for his fiance's head.
Only the best parts for Elizabeth.
Only the best parts. And so Zorro's downstairs.
And he's just waiting on his bitches.
And he's just waiting on them to get done with this because he's supposed to pick out one. And it's just taking too long.
Like, you have 30 minutes to pick out one girl, and then I'm rounding my girls up. And
right.
Like, you get the one girl.
You get the one girl.
Like, you didn't pay for, like, all the
Yeah,
girls.
yeah. And so he can't just pick one. He doesn't know
Can't
which
pick.
one. So he's starting to have second thoughts about this. Can't
And
pick.
these girls are like, come on, come on, come on, you gotta do this, you gotta do this.
Come on,
pressure on him.
like we're still gonna get paid for this, even if you can't pick anybody out, right?
Right.
And he's like, fine,
Money, that's all you care
that's
about.
all you care about, and he throws the money at him.
Throws his doctor bag at them,
And
which
he's like-
opens, and there's money in there, and
the super crack.
the super crack.
And this really gets those girls going, because if it's one thing that
We
sex
know about
workers,
hookers, it's that they love super crack.
they love super crack.
So they're actually sitting on top of him, like holding him down.
Right.
And they, all of a sudden, all 7 of these women have like crack pipes.
Yeah, they all pull out their crack pipes and they're smoking it and they're having a good time.
For a few minutes, they're
Having a blast. They turn on the music.
They're taking their clothes
He's
off.
actually begging them to please stop.
Stop! It's not good for
It's
you.
not.
Like,
This is
he's
dangerous.
Having second thoughts.
You don't
guess
understand.
What? It's too late.
They're having the time of their life.
They're past the
Zorro's
point of
getting
no return.
pissed.
Yeah, Zorro's mad. He's downstairs getting impatient, and he comes upstairs.
Just as the girls start to blow up.
They're all
Literally blowing up.
exploding, and
It's
the girls
chaos.
are scrambling everywhere, and he's
Yeah.
banging on the door for them to open the door.
Yeah.
And the door explodes open.
Yeah. He comes bursting in and one of the girls' heads fly off. And
Hits him, and he's
knocks him
knocked
out.
out.
Yeah. Knocks Zorro out with a flying head.
So Jeffrey apologizes
Of course.
to
Of
everybody.
course.
But it doesn't stop him from getting out that trash bag.
Yeah. Yeah. There's body parts everywhere and he's like, what am I going to
One
do?
thing we learned about the New Year, or about the Christmas movie, is that serial killers have trash bags.
And they get brand name because they last.
They last. This is a hefty.
Yes. This is a hefty.
This ain't no great value brand.
This isn't the Kirkland's.
This is not a Kirkland's brand trash bag.
Yeah. And so he says this is still salvageable, so he gathers up every body part he can find.
Yeah, he's just throwing
And then-
shit in bags.
Then he goes out the fire escape.
Fire escape.
with
and
body parts
he
everywhere.
has a trunk full of parts on the way home. Where are the cops? Because the trunk
Yeah,
isn't
the
closed.
trunk is open with
It's
these
just
body
legs
parts.
and arms everywhere.
No problem. Nobody
It's fine.
noticed.
It's Jersey.
Yeah, yeah. And so he gets in his lab, starts putting the parts together. And the
he's-
storm's getting closer. He can hear it.
He's
doing science faster.
welding them together.
I guess,
He's
but
got
he's
the welding mask on, but
Yeah.
somehow still using glue.
right. He uses a whole array of crafting supplies.
I don't think he's a real doctor.
He's getting there. I mean, he went to 3 different medical schools, so he
You can't
must have picked
cherry
something
pick your
out.
doctoring, sir. Like, you need to
Right.
This is not how you reattach a severed limb.
Right. And he's doing all kinds of stuff like picking out the perfect legs and filing off bunions and picking out matching boobies.
Okay, I'm gonna say this, like, no shade to these girls, but the feet he picks out, not good.
Yeah.
These are the feet of, like, 80-year-old women who stood in heels for their entire... My grandma had feet like this.
Yeah, these are like live action Fred Flintstone feet.
Yes, it's not good. And
So-
it says, one final detail, and he pulls out Elizabeth's head from the grape juice bath and the deep freeze, and he
He
throws
gives it a little pep talk and then drops
like,
it.
hey, girl. Yeah.
So I'm sure it like damages her brain even further after
Probably.
dropping it. And then he gets her all sewn together.
And then he throws all the other body parts
He just
into
kinda,
the deep freeze.
He just kind of puts everything into the deep freeze that he didn't use.
But because I think it's his intention, I think that he's going to put these girls back together
Yeah,
to like atone for the fact that he accidentally super cracked them to death.
right, he exploded them all, and so he gets Elizabeth all sewn together, or at least gets her head sewn onto the body parts,
And he like pulls this lever.
and he pulls a lever, and he's got this lift already built that takes it up into the sky, and
A la
she
Frankenstein.
yeah, she gets hit by the lightning. Everything in the shop is electrified, including
the deep freeze.
the deep freeze with all the spare parts in it.
Yes.
And then it comes back down, and now
She's
have...
standing.
She's standing. Yeah, she was laying down, and then
with,
all of a
like,
sudden
there
she's
were
standing.
cuffs that went across
Yeah.
her arms and her legs, but suddenly she's standing, and he pulls the sheet, and there she is.
There she is. Now she
Frankenhooker.
used to be blonde, but now she's got black hair. Don't know how that happened. I guess.
Well, it's like a dark purpley.
Yeah, everything kind of turns purple on her. Kind of purpley
the purple
skin,
juice.
purple nipples, purple. Lots of makeup, like
Lots of makeup.
the lightning. I need to
Apparently,
stick my
he
face out
didn't
in
really
it.
care for her makeup routine because
Yeah.
he upped that too.
He upped that too.
And when he pulls her the sheet off of her, and you see her, she starts catcalling him and asking if she wants a date, and like slapping him, and like
apparently in the mess of all of this, she's
no
adapted.
longer Elizabeth.
Yeah, she's no longer Elizabeth. She's adapted the personalities of all the different parts that she's made out of now.
Which is why for the rest of this movie, I'm calling her Frankenhooker, because
she's
that's not
Frankenhooker.
Elizabeth.
She's not Elizabeth anymore. She's Frankenhooker.
And then she slaps him to the ground, and she goes off into the streets.
Yeah, she goes to look for some paying Johns.
Yeah.
And leaves him unconscious.
And I'm just going to say this right now. Fashion in for her shoes. She's got some cute shoes on.
She looks great.
Like those platform shoes with like the little bows. I'm like, these are cute shoes.
Yeah, she looks great. She looks awesome. So she leaves and gets on a bus. And Jeffrey wakes up realizing that she's missing.
Yeah.
And he's off to find her, realizing that she's going back to the streets.
How'd she pay for the bus?
I don't know. With that body? She's not fat anymore, so she's able
to pay. She's laying out them pretzels.
She's
so she can do
right? Exactly.
Whatever she wants. And then Jeffrey wakes up, realizes that she's escaped, and he goes out into the city and look for her because he realizes she's looking for money and looking for a date.
Right.
So like he puts two and two together. He's
right.
stupid. I'll give him
right.
that. He's not dumb.
Right. I mean, you can't be an amateur doctor and
she's like asking left and right, and if someone wants you want
a date,
you want a date.
Yeah.
And
she finds herself a little short bald guy.
I said a man who looks like Danny DeVito takes her up on her offer.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And they go back to the Sultry Arms.
They go back to the hotel. And they get up in the room, and she's, like, replaying the horror that she experienced in that room before.
Right, like
still saying lines that were said from earlier.
The previous ladies of the night said to Jeffrey.
Yeah.
About, like, we're going to call him, what do they call him?
Jersey Boy.
Jersey Boy.
Or something like that,
yeah. They call him Jersey Boy.
And so she starts working up home dude that she just brought back.
And he is down to clown.
And he's down to clown.
And then she takes off her top to reveal the purple nipples.
Right.
And she takes her clothes off. She gets all excited. And he's like, oh, yeah. And she crawls on top of him and starts choking him. And then there's smoke everywhere.
She electrocutes him.
And he says, isn't it hot in here? And then he's been electrocuted by her. And he kind of explodes in his severed head.
Yeah, she pulls off of it. She pulls off his head.
And he said, that was wonderful. You know what? That's a happy paying customer.
Right. He's cool with it. And
he's fine.
I like how his disembodied head somehow says that was wonderful.
Right. Jeffrey can't keep Elizabeth's head alive, but somehow
she's talking to this head.
I think it has something to do with electricity.
Maybe. I guess so.
So Jeffrey parks. We cut to Jeffrey. He's parked, and he's looking around for her, asking a guy if she's seen her. And he asked this one guy who has an accent if you've seen her. And he answers in a Swedish accent. And he says, what, you some kind of Swede?
Yeah, like...
Yeah. Because now we're xenophobic all of a sudden.
Right.
That doesn't seem okay.
And,
So cut to Frankenhooker, and she takes the money out of fake Danny DeVito's wallet.
Right, and then she leaves the hotel room, and she goes into the club.
Hallway. No, in the hallway.
First thing she goes to the hallway,
and this guy with a ponytail is like, "Hey, blah 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 blah." He's like hitting on her,
yeah,
and asks if he can stick his tongue down her throat, and kisses her against her wishes, and she electrocutes him because
electrocutes him.
I'm not even sad about that.
I'm not sad about that.
And she throws him out the window.
Right. And so that's when she goes back onto the streets looking for more victims.
Right.
And then she goes into the club where Zorro, the pimp, is.
Right.
And he's telling everybody there that all of his girls blew up and nobody's believing him.
His friend's like,
nah, whatever. And so the friend that he's talking to sees Frankenhooker come up to the bar, and she sees the pretzels. And because she's a former fat ass. The parts of her that were
Elizabeth loves, the fat ass Elizabeth loves pretzels.
She loves pretzels. And
if there's one thing we like, it's a crunchy snack.
Right, so. Exactly. And she's shoveling it in her mouth, and the bartender tells her to go easy on the pretzels. And she doesn't like that. She growls at the bartender. And so the friend that Zorro was talking to earlier, he's like, let's get it on, or whatever. So they go to a booth.
They go to like this little booth, like hidden
corner.
Behind like a little what's a little whatever thing. So they go like sit there, but Zorro kind of hears this, and he sees that tattoo on her arm.
He sees his brand on her arm, and he says,
so he's interested now.
Yeah. And so in the meantime, his little friend over in the corner booth with her, though, tries to go down on her under the table.
Yes, he goes under the table to give her a little action.
Little oral love.
A little oral. And apparently she has an electric vagina, too.
Yeah.
That just shocks the
He gets zapped and he blows up.
And Zorro comes up behind him, or comes to the table, and he's like, "Where'd you get this arm? This isn't your arm.
This isn't your arm. Who are you? Where'd you get that arm?" And so
You damn arm thief!
right? So she pushes him away, and he decks her,
Yeah.
and it knocks her head off. And it's like attached in the back,
it's like,
and it's
just dangling.
like a hinge.
Yeah.
And so,
So then Jeffrey comes in.
Lightning
and
starts shooting out of her
Jeffrey,
neck.
like, comes into the bar, and he's like, Elizabeth! This is not a big bar.
Yeah. It's not that big.
It's a small hole in the wall, and it's taken him way too long to find her.
Right,
But he does find her, and he kind of, like, faloops her head back on.
Faloops her head back on. Now, all the bar patrons are running away and screaming because they see electricity shooting out of her neck.
Right, but he kind
So
of just,
there's, like,
takes
chaos.
takes her to the car.
And then he just, like, puts her head back on and takes her to the car.
You know, when you're a drunk girl, just, like, her head falls
Yeah.
off in the bar.
Yeah,
You're so
exactly.
embarrassed.
Exactly. And so Zora sees him and recognizes him, too.
Yeah, so he hails a cab.
So he
he's
hails a
gonna follow
cab.
them.
He follows them home where Jeffrey has taken
I don't even want to think
Frankenhooker.
about what the taxi ride cost from, like, New York to Jersey.
Right, I know, right.
But Zorro's got money.
Zorro's got money.
He's a man of means.
He's got premium bitches, so...
So cut to Jeffrey is reattaching Frankenhooker's head, and he plugs her in and shocks her neck with electrodes, and it's got, like, these, like, giant staples across her neck, like Frankenstein.
Yeah, he reinforces her neck and then puts the bolts in.
When he electrocutes her and, like, he like, unplugs everything, he says, "I know you aren't a hooker, Elizabeth." And she's back. Now she's Elizabeth.
back. She's back.
She's like,
That
"I know
little
I'm not
tweak.
a hooker. Hello?"
Yeah, why would you say something like that? That little tweak with a lower voltage of electricity, that's just what she
He
needed.
did too much.
Yeah,
As usual, the incel did too much.
Just did too much.
And she's asking what happened, and he tells her, "You were gone, but I brought you back."
And she starts to remember the lawnmower, and he tells her, "I reanimated you. You were dead."
And she's like, "Oh my God, you have to share
this
this
is
with the
fantastic.
world.
This is a miracle." And
You have to share this with the world." He says he can't because the blood serum is estrogen based and it only saves women. I said, because God forbid you just save women, Jeffrey.
Yeah, we can work on that later.
Fuck the patriarchy.
Fuck
God
the
damn it.
patriarchy. And then she starts to notice, she's like, "Wait, these aren't my arms or my legs or my boobs.
What did you do?
What have you done to me?" And he says, "Well, I had to because there wasn't enough left of you.
Yeah.
And I had to make some changes." And she's like, "I can feel the different women inside of me."
Because you can feel all the different parts, like feel their spirits, their essence, whatever. So then Zorro comes up.
He comes creeping in and he hears them talking.
And he straight up...
And there's always a machete around.
He straight up just chops his goddamn head right off.
Picks up this machete and lops Jeffrey's head off.
Jeffrey's head is now decapitated from his body.
No more. And you know, it is so easy just to separate the head from a body in this movie. Everybody loses their head in this movie.
I think they just hire people who have really easy choppable heads. Their
loose heads. They have loose heads.
Loose heads. So then the freezer opens up and a hand comes out and then all the body parts of the women tump over.
And they come after Zorro because Zorro's like, "Hey, you belong to me.
You belong to me." And these women, you know what? These women have been through enough.
Yeah. And all of the spare parts just start coming after Zorro.
Like mold together.
They mold together and make their own bodies.
Weird, like, booby, arm,
weird
head, lip combos.
None of them look particularly strong, but they can take down this, like, muscle-bound pimp.
And you know what they do? And it's hilarious. And then they shove his ass into the deep freeze and they kill him.
They kill him in the deep freeze.
So then Elizabeth, not Frankenhooker now, she's Elizabeth. She picks up Jeffrey's head and she says she has an idea.
She has an idea.
So cut to Jeffrey waking up, just a close-up of his face, and he says, "What's happened?" And she tells him about Zorro and says, "You were gone, but you kept good notes."
Yeah. Elizabeth,
she has sewn his head
onto
a bunch of female body parts.
Yep, because the serum only works on girls.
And he screeches like Frankenstein's monster, like, "Oh!"
Yeah, it's not convincing, but he's pretty upset about this.
And then, Fiend.
Credits.
That's
how it is.
It's over.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very teachable moment.
This is a teachable moment.
First of all, don't fat shame your girlfriend, ever.
Ever.
Idea.
If you were so in love with her, then you should have accepted her the way she was.
Maybe figure out how to work these lawnmowers before you start giving them as presents.
Exactly.
And if you're going to make reanimation serum, maybe make it in both genders.
Add a little testosterone.
Make it genderless, because that's the society we live in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though it was from the 1990s, it's a lot of good lessons in there.
A lot
for
of good
2025.
lessons. Yes, they
So,
should teach this in elementary school.
They should teach us in medical school.
In medical school. And at the electric company where he
And
works.
they should teach it in drug recovery programs. Because, super crack is an epidemic.
Right.
It's not going anywhere. We have to learn how to get
these
hookers,
sex workers
workers off the streets.
Off the streets with the super crack. A little bit of trivia.
Do it. Let's hear it.
This film ran into a little bit of trouble with the MPAA.
I bet it did.
Because the director was saying that the head of the board was calling his production company and saying, "Congratulations, you're the first film rated S for shit." And they fought back, the producers fought back and everything, and they said, okay, well, you can have an X rating for this, and then they refused the X rating and then just released it unrated.
Oh my God, we're 2 for 2 with unrated movies for the year.
And I
love
believe
this for us.
I believe that they had to, if I remember right, they eventually got an R rating for one of the final cuts. But they had to take one of the hookers exploding out. They had to take one less hooker exploding out.
Okay, for the rating system, for the rating board, let's be real. None of it looked real.
None of it looked real. None of it was gory. It wasn't overly bloody.
1,000%.
Even when
mannequins blowing up.
Yeah, it was mannequins blowing up.
Because when they exploded, there wasn't even guts.
It was sparks.
Sparks.
It was just
and
sparks.
Fluff. At one point, you see the torso being decapitated.
Yeah,
not decapitated. Just
separated,
and there's fluff in there. There's
nothing in there. Also, the final shot in which Jeffrey is in his female form,
you don't really see, but kind of.
He ended up having to be strapped on there for hours and hours and hours, and the whole body was a prosthetic. It was fake, so his head was
it was not like a.
And so they had to help him pee into coffee cups while he was strapped down.
Now you know what it's like to be a woman.
And then Frank Henenlotter, the director, gave out all of the fake breasts from the movie.
Oh yeah,
as
because that
gifts.
one part,
there's a bucket of boobs,
and they're all just little chicken cutlets with nipples.
With nipples. Yeah, so he gave those all out as parting gifts at the end of the production.
Oh man, I would love to get my hands on one of those.
And apparently,
on eBay.
Actor Bill Murray is a huge fan of this movie, and when it came out, he was telling everybody you have to go see it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so this is one of Bill Murray's favorites. If you like Bill Murray,
Bill, same friend.
So there you have it.
That's Frankenhooker.
It's such a fun little movie. I can't recommend it more.
This. It's on Tubi.
I think
it might be on Freebie. It's so fun.
It's a fun movie. I've probably seen it 5 times at this point now, because every time we've gotten together and watched it a time or two.
Yeah,
and
this movie is part of one of the reasons we started this podcast, because that whole little subsect of horror movies is why we started this podcast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love these bad movies, and it's not an Oscar winner by any means, and that's fine, because half the time I skip out on Oscar winners anyway, because I'm bored to tears.
Hot take, with Oscar-winning movies.
Yeah.
They're too long, and
they
they're
are
always
way
sad.
Too long. They're always sad, yeah. So this one, it has a disturbing ending, but I think it's a great ending.
I think it's a great ending. Because she gets hers.
She gets it.
She gets her revenge.
And she's got a rockin' new body.
Because it would be one thing if she was tragically killed and asked him at the last minute to please find a way to bring me back. If no one's asking to be brought back, that's
yeah. There's moral issues with that.
There's moral issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is what I find with Frankenstein and The Bride of Frankenstein.
Right.
No one asked for that.
Right.
He just created life out of nowhere.
Yeah, somebody playing God.
Yes.
So, at any rate, don't play God.
Don't play God.
Hope everybody's having a good new year so far.
And we'll see you guys next time.
We'll see you next time. We love you guys. Thanks for joining us.